Hey there, so for today's video lesson we're going to talk about something that I think is often overlooked by musicians, young musicians especially, is having a good sense of time and a really good sense of feel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over a couple basic metronome exercises that we can do without an instrument even in our hands, just to help us focus on having a really good internal beat or an internal pulse. So what I have here is I have on my phone, I have a metronome here, and I'm going to talk about how some different ways of using this as we're working along and improving musically. So the first step is setting a metronome. You can do this without an instrument, or playing with an instrument is obviously you can do it if you're a singer, playing with your voice, of course, or if you're playing guitar. Using the metronome while you're playing anything is actually a really good idea, just because it helps us get a little bit of a better sense of time. But here's some exercises that we can do without the instrument. So first of all, having just a good sense of the quarter note I think is very important. So I just set my metronome here to 75 beats per minute. So I'm going to sit here and I can and try to clap along with it. I hope we can hear this in the video just fine. So I'm going to Good, so getting a really good sense of that. That's not too bad because it's a pretty medium pulse. But how do we fare when we go a little bit slower, let's say? So I put my metronome to 35 here. Let's see if I can get a little bit of a better or a good feel there. So I'm just doing single notes and clapping on the beat. But what we can do is now let's try to combine those two things. When our metronome was at, so let's say our metronome was at 70 earlier. Clapping on the quarter notes there. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's great. So now what I want us to do is we're going to turn it down to 35. And because we showed that we could clap already on the beat to that, I want to see if we can clap 2 times, which is the equivalent of clapping at 70. But it's going to be a little bit harder because we're a little bit more responsible of having those 2 notes inside a little bit more even. So here's an example. There's a little bit of rushing there. Good. So what I think is great is that we can go through a couple different tempos and really just make sure that we can hone in on that. But what's really important is that as we want to increase the speed, we don't necessarily have to increase the metronome marking. So what we can do is we can keep our metronome at a lower tempo, and we can just play, instead of playing 1 beat per click, deal with 2 beats per click, 3 beats per click, 4 beats per click. And that brings me to our next exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my metronome on 25. Pretty slow. And it feels very slow to do quarter notes, right? If we're thinking this. Da. Da. Little rushing. Da. Da. Now think of what 2 notes is that. Da. 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 1, 2. 1, 2. And now what we can do is try to do 3 notes per click. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 4 notes per click. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can keep going up from there. We can go 5 notes per click, 6 notes per click, and the slower the metronome is, the harder it is, for sure, because we're a little bit more responsible for the time in that. So I would highly suggest working on this as much as you can. So we're going to try to do 1 note per click at a fast tempo, and then try it at a slower tempo, and then try going 2 notes per click, 3 notes per click, 4 notes per click. Because when we start going at a faster tempo, and we try doing that at something like 70, ducky, ducky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a little bit harder, right? Especially to clap. So we want to really just work on our internal pulse, and that's your exercise for this week. Have a great week.